Welcome back to the CADS channel, where we all get together to come and discuss Spurs. I'm your host, Stuart Woodrow, and in today's episode, we're diving deep into the world of Tottenham Hotspur. We've got a special segment lined up analysing Spurs' grueling victory away against Nottingham Forest. So whether you're celebrating the win or just want to moan about the ref, you're in absolutely the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Spurs content. And until then, let's get started. I am joined by three absolute gents, two of whom have got lovely scarves or cravats on for tonight, and Benjamin has got himself sorted out with the best audio we've ever seen on here. So, yeah, let's get started. Hello, Ash. How you doing?
All right, mate. Well, hello from sunny California. Still kind of summery out here.
Excellent. Austin, not quite so summery, I'm guessing, where you are.
It might be a little bit dark here, but there was a very nice evening sky.
All right, and finally, a new member of the team, Benjamin. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. It's winter and dark here, like from 4 p.m. or something like that. So that's it's all right though. With a Spurs win, you kind of feel all right.
That's kind of normal for Denmark, isn't it? This time of year.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So for those of you that don't know, Benjamin is a member of the CADS forum, of course. He's also a member of TikTok, a very heavy user of TikTok. And if you're interested in guitar music, music in general, give this man a follow. Where can they find you, Benjamin?
It's called Cloudburst. My profile on a Cloudburst with a set or C or whatever you call it. CLOUDBURZT.
There we go.
So yeah,
all right.
But yeah,
it's worth giving. I follow on TikTok, so
I appreciate that.
We definitely should have more people on there. Okay, so yeah, I've got a load of talking points, but as always, definitely free for anybody to talk in. But let's talk about the Nottingham Forest game. Good result. Happy with the result, but that was harder than it should have been, I feel.
Absolutely. I want to mention someone, and Ash will appreciate this, because Kulusevski got all the plaudits, and I thought Vic did brilliantly as well. Mm-hmm. But I thought Ben Davies had an absolutely storming game. Absolutely. And I just thought he looked real quality player.
Yeah, I know Jamie Carragher name-checked him and said he was very close to giving him man of the match, which, considering Kulusevski had a goal and an assist in that match, says quite a lot about his performance. He was really, really good. He was really good yesterday.
I thought Ben Davies had a very good game as well, and I've been surprised at how much he's stepped up. Like, he's always been a decent average player you could rely on, I think. But I thought the gap between Van de Ven, or however you pronounce his name, and Ben Davies would be bigger, but he's really stepped it up. And it was between Davies and Kulusevski for man of the match for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really, really impressed. I thought Kulusevski deserved it simply because goal and assist, but there were periods where he was quite quiet. And Davies just throughout the match looks really, really good. Having said that, the chances that they did tend to come through his side of the pitch, and they had a couple of chances where they really should have scored.
Well, he's not a centre back. Let's face that. He's been thrown into this. I think Romero makes him better. I think that playing regularly, consistently is making him better. I almost exactly what Ben said. I think who knew that he could actually be even better than just a squad player, a big professional. I've always praised him because he is such a professional. He'd be like one of the first guys in my team. I think the other coaches thought the same thing. Even the ones we didn't like always had Ben in and around the first team. I wonder if Cudi has made him better, or the other part is the fact that he's actually playing in the same position game after game. That's actually helping him as well. I was wondering if that's true.
I think it is interesting though, because I was thinking the other day, what position is Ben Davies' best position? Like, is it left back? Is it, he's played left wing back even at times. Yep. Is it left center back? And obviously we talk about left center back in a 3-man defense, but to me, it's almost like he's a utility defender who can cover that whole left-hand side from 4-man or 2-man center back pairing to a 3-man to a fullback to a wing back. And I think that's just something I appreciate a lot, in the same way Kulusevski can play like right wing and can also play cam, and I think that's very important for a squad, especially when we're decimated by injuries.
Yeah, agreed. I think he's going to be an important player for the squad for the rest of the season. I hope we see a lot more of him after that. I believe his contract's running out. Is a bit of a concern. He's got about 18 months left on it, I believe. I will check that. But
He's 31, you said, Stu, isn't he?
31 years old. Yeah, 30 years old, I think. Ben Davies, 30 years old, and his contract runs out next season, end of next season, which I would not be against giving that man an extension.
Yeah, I do think the way he's played has bridged the sort of gap we have with Kuti getting red cards and injuries and defense and so on. Because I was expecting that to sort of be our weakest part somehow, though, even though we've got like 8 or 9 midfielders on the book. Like the midfield three is somehow becoming our biggest problem with suspension and injuries and so on. But defense has sort of worked all right in the last 2 or 3 games.
Since Kuti's come back, certainly.
Yeah.
Austin, what are your thoughts on this? You've been quiet.
Well, no, it's nice to give other people a turn, and I've kept my language clean as well for a change.
I will bleep as needed, as always.
Oh,
and Matt isn't here, otherwise I'd definitely be swearing. But that's another story.
I've already like sworn a few times, I think, in here.
I would give Davies. Give Davies a contract tomorrow. He won so many headers and he made so many interceptions yesterday. I just thought he was superb. And yes, there were chances came down through his side of the pitch, but I think in at least 2 of those chances it was because Papi Sarr passed the ball straight to a Notts Forest player, because he had a really bad first 30 minutes, in my opinion.
I think Papi had his best game. He still brings a lot to the team, I think, with his running with the ball. But he was definitely a bit loose in his passing yesterday.
I wondered, because I was reading that the Nottingham Forest pitch is wider than most other pitches in Premier League. I did wonder, because I was noticing his passes were shorter across, like it was one long pass across the back line that kind of went to a Nottingham Forest player. Obviously, it shouldn't happen to a professional footballer, but I think the Nottingham Forest pitch is like 4 or 5 meters wider than our pitch, for instance. It's just sort of dawned on me. I wonder how much that sort of affects players in a game. I mean, obviously they're professional; they should be able to do it, but
yeah, but I'd say he's very young still. I mean, he's got 3 seasons of football.
The game yesterday as well. I thought he made some mistakes early doors, certainly in the first 30 minutes. But I thought as the game went on, he got better.
Who are we talking about? Who?
Papi Sarr.
Matt Sarr. Yeah.
So why were we off a little bit? Did some of you think we were off? I actually thought that given the situation we're in, I thought actually we played, the goals were terrific. I actually thought we put in a shift, and against a horrible, dirty team, like a lot of them are, I thought we put a shift in and we got the result. And I think Ange was pretty happy with the result. So why do we think it's what? We've got 8, he said 8 first team players still out. Now it's more with the 2 suspensions, and who knows about Johnson. Is it back up to 10? It'll be maybe up to 10 for the next game, So why are people thinking, oh, we should be doing Newcastle every week? I don't know about that,
I think it's if you've got a side kicking you all the way throughout the game and the ref's letting them get away with it, then it's kind of difficult to build up that rhythm.
Absolutely.
And that make things an awful lot harder.
Absolutely.
Did anyone notice how angry Sonny was at 2 or 3 points in the match? He remonstrated with the ref on more than one occasion. He remonstrated with one of their players on one occasion, and at the end he was furious with someone. I can't remember who, but he's such a mild-mannered guy that to see him actually getting really, really angry, and I think that was because we weren't getting any of the calls. They didn't get any booking until after the 80th minute. Then they got 2 in the last 10 minutes. Well, we already had 4 by then and a sending off.
I I really don't understand what the referee was doing, especially with Udogi's yellow card in the first, which sure
That's not a
enough,
yellow card.
exactly.
That's not a
It's
yellow card.
shoulder push, and Saar got a yellow card as well on the edge of the box. And for what they did to our players, I think they should have had some yellow cards as well. And it seems to be something that's been happening throughout the games all of this year. The opposition fouls our players 5, 6, 7 times, get nothing for it. We do one foul and it's a yellow card. And I don't think we receive enough protection by the ref, but I'm sure other teams feel the same way, though, in some way. But I think it's those kind of teams we struggle against, the teams that start to kick us, whether that's Aston Villa did it, and I think West Ham did it as well, maybe. And Wolves, yeah.
Chelsea did it as well.
Yeah.
I think that's where the rot started, wasn't it, with the Chelsea game? But I think since the Liverpool game, we've got very, very little out of the refs, and I think there's definitely an element of they're trying to make sure they're not seen to be favouring us in any way, and with that, we're just not getting anything from them. To the point where Yates yesterday, twice he was doing the whole yellow card, waving the imaginary yellow card thing. That should be a yellow card. Exactly. It's literally in the rules. You wave an imaginary yellow card, that's a bookable event.
And you saw the way, was it Murillo or whatever his name is,
Brazilian guy.
Should have been booked twice. And I think there was even an instance right before our goal where someone kind of gave an elbow to Ben Davies in defense for we scored just 20 seconds later, so it was kind of glanced over, but it was it happened as well. And while I don't actually think that, I looked at it again this day, I don't think it's necessarily a red card, but giving a yellow card for that sort of jumping in, it was somewhat similar to the red card in the Newcastle game today. Maybe not as violent, but that sort of jump with the elbow. It's just, hand out some yellow cards, settle the game down before it gets too violent.
Is it our perception? Just our perception, because I think all of us here agree that we're not getting the rub of the green that way. Or could the refs, why would they do that against us if indeed they are doing it? Why would they do that? Why Spurs?
I think, as I said, I think it looked as though we got a easy or a lucky or an undeserved call against Liverpool, which definitely went in our favour. A lot of people seem to forget that the on-field decision was offside in that DS goal, and the VAR just upheld the on-field decision. They thought it had been called onside, and they were having to check it for, which is why they got it wrong. So they tried to rush things. They made a wrong call. They backed the linesman's decision when they should have gone against it. And ever since then, I've got a feeling that the refs are just going, well, we need to make sure that we're not seen to be favouring them in any way. And I guarantee if a single Spurs player had done the whole waving the yellow card thing, we'd have got booked for that.
Absolutely. And there were 2 other instances yesterday that I really felt aggrieved by. One, Skip had a free kick awarded against him when the other guy, who was the Nottingham Forest player who you mentioned earlier, whose name I've forgotten.
Murillo?
He dived in with not Murillo.
Yates.
Yates. He dived in with 2 feet on Skip, and Skip had a free kick awarded against him. I thought that was as bad as the Bissouma tackle, if not worse, because there were 2 feet, and I actually thought Bissouma was unlucky because I thought he tried to pull out of it.
You never think that a Spurs player deserves to get sent off. You thought Romero shouldn't have been sent off. I looked at that and I thought that's a red card. His foot was too high, made contact with the player, got in with the studs on the shit. It's always going to be a red card nowadays.
I think so too on the Bissouma red card. I think that was a red card. However, I think the Nottingham Forest players should have been disciplined earlier with some yellow cards, and that might have settled the game down a bit. But yeah, it's I think on the perspective of, is it just our perception of things? I do think all fans I've talked with, like whether it's Liverpool fans or West Ham fans and Newcastle fans or Wolves fans or whatever, they all feel, the ref is against us, the ref is against us. I think at the end of the day, it probably does even out. And people just tend to remember the instances of the things that happened to their club. because people will say, and again, I'm just remembering Spurs things. People will say Spurs are always getting the luck here with the referees, but throughout the years, like Nani touching the ball with his hand in the box against, was it Gomez? He wasn't like, Gomez saving it on the line against Chelsea. It wasn't over the line. Against United, what was his name? The keeper.
It's always against United. Roy Carroll.
Roy Carroll, yeah. Lucas Moura getting tackled. The ball hitting his shoulder. It fell to Kane. And it was just a handball, even though he was tackled and fell down on the ball. Goal ruled out. Jan Vertonghen offside in our own half.
That's awful.
Yeah, like the list goes on and on, not just for us. I'm sure it goes on for other teams as well, because I've heard Liverpool fans say it only happens to Liverpool. Like, no, was it Wolves, Aston Villa that got a goal not given, even though it was over the line, goal line technology that sent one of the teams down a few years ago? It happens to every team, but we all feel unfairly done by, I think.
Another one yesterday, the second one that I did mention, was Sonny being hauled to the ground in the penalty box.
And, that one. Yeah. And then also Sonny being kicked in the head earlier in the game.
Yeah, with a knee in the start of the game, was it? That one?
Yeah.
Knee to the head, yeah.
And that was a clear penalty in my opinion.
Yeah,
and it was judged to, both of them were judged to have been handling each other, basically, to be holding on to each other. What was the point of Son holding on to their player? I don't get that.
Well, Son had his back to him, so how could he hold on to him properly?
No, they were facing each other, but he was trying to push him out of the way so he could get out of his grip. He was, and his arms all over him. I thought that was a bad call as well. But I mean, that came from VAR. VAR were the ones that said, "Oh no, it was joint holding," or whatever the term they used. It was useless.
But I do think I've seen people complain about the Bissouma red card and all that. I think for me, whether that's a red card or not is sort of irrelevant in the big scheme of things. It's sort of the inconsistency with the referees. That's my big gripe, that you never know what you're going to get. A tackle flying in like Matty Cash on Benson Kerr or whatever, that's deemed to play on. I don't even think the elbow to Ben Davies' head, that was not even a foul. Play just went on, I think, if I recall correctly. Then next, someone's getting sent off, or you just don't really know what you're getting.
I think if we're talking about inconsistency, it's not just from the refs. You've got to look at the pundits as well, and that'll probably bring me on to a gripe later on. But Gary Neville yesterday said, Bissouma had to go off of that. And this is the same person who, when Curtis Jones got sent off against Liverpool, he was like, "Oh, that's just the kind of thing you see in football." And it was very, very similar. It was studs making contact with shin, and as far as I'm concerned, both were reds. I've got no complaints about Bissouma getting sent off. I would definitely have had a complaint if Jones hadn't been. And we've seen, was it Kai Havertz on Townsend? Nothing at all. We've seen times this season where players mistime their challenges, connect with the player's shin, and there's been absolutely nothing. It's just inconsistency, and that's the problem with refereeing, and certainly with VAR right now, because you've got to be consistent. That's the point of VAR. It's supposed to ensure that we get the correct decision every single time.
Yeah.
Since we did talk about Bissouma, could we talk about this thing about our players being sent off, suspended, yellow cards? Is that an issue? Can Ange deal with it, or what? Where do we go from here? Because what's his name? Bissouma is out now till after the AFCON.
Yeah. Well, no, he's back when Mali go out of the AFCON, which I think is probably going to be more pertinent, because there is no way that side is going far into the competition.
But he's 4 games out for sure.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, we don't have that many. We only have 3 games in January. So yeah, he's out till after AFCON.
Yeah, he'll probably miss the Man United game, but I suspect he'll be back for the last game of January.
Yeah,
it's not great.
I can't really. I don't know if it's an issue or not, because I think with the AFCON, we probably knew that already ahead of time when we signed him. When we signed Son, we knew he was going to Asia Cup, or we know Sarr is going to AFCON as well. What else have we? We know these things. So of course, that's more so a club issue probably. I think there is a discipline
that's the
issue
point.
at some
Yes.
point.
Yes.
But I'm struggling with it because I actually do like Bissouma as a player. I don't think he wouldn't be in my starting midfield trio, by the way, but I do
Really?
sort of like, yeah, I would not be that, but I do enjoy the things he bring a bit, but I think he's too inconsistent in sort of his level and sort of his yeah, I don't know what it is at the moment, but it's a problem when you miss 33% of the season through suspension or AFCON or going away. You know, how many games has he missed so far? Is it 5?
Missed
Oh, sorry,
four
he's
games.
missed
No,
a
he's
few
missed-
games. 2
he's
games.
missed two.
Yeah, and then he's going to miss another 4 now.
Yeah.
So that's
and
6
then
suspension.
yeah, that's a bit of an issue. That's, for me, it is, and yeah.
That's worse than Cootie, and I know some on our CADS pages people complaining about that's way worse than Cootie. That's double what he's been. Of course, it is early.
Yeah. I'm getting interrupted by a cat now.
That's right. Everyone's welcome. All guests are welcome.
He's a member of the CADS group on Facebook.
The CADS forum. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, last week we had Vegas, so this week we've got another little fairy guest. That's fine.
But what do we do with these sort of disciplinary issues that we may or may not have?
I think we have to live with it. I mean, one of the questions I wanted to ask tonight is Bissouma, Romero, are they worth the risk? We've got these players who have a red card in them from time to time, and they're going to miss games through suspension. Certainly the way that Bissouma plays, it's almost a yellow card every single game so far this season. You know, can we afford to absorb the sendings off? Can we afford to absorb the suspensions? I think when we've got a full side, almost. The problem is Romero. Romero at the moment is almost irreplaceable, because if he's missing, right now we got to play Dyer, and I think Dyer's just counting how long he's got left on his contract, and he's
Royal was playing because Dyer was so Royal was playing in that position. Royal and Davis. You know,
Royal's not a great option in that position either. I mean, I'd rather see. I suspect he'll start at left back in the next game.
Yes.
I think he will.
I'd rather see him at left back than centre back.
I think as for the suspension and yellow cards, I've never been a fan of like the overly aggressive teams and so on, but I do think at times in the you know, in the previous 10, 15, 20 years, we've missed sort of that bit of bite, and only Lamela at times really offered that. Whether you like it or not, that's a whole different matter, but I think maybe we've gone over the top a bit on this, but and in some ways I think it was Austin who said Bissouma was unlucky with the challenge, and I do sort of agree. I think he was just attempting to get the ball. It was endangering the opposition. I think it's a red card, but I don't think it was malicious. So there is that. When you think, is it a discipline issue? Was it unlucky, or was it malicious? Was there intent behind it? It's a problem anyway, but it's sort of negates the whole thing if you know, he's not necessarily an aggressive player as such. I think at times he's made some decisions that I think have been rather questionable. The dive against Luton and so on, but no.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yes.
There's also Udogie, and I don't know if we call him a dirty player, but he's been suspended. That means he's got 5 yellows. So
yeah, and Sarr is on 4 yellows, by the way. He can't get another one for the next 2 or 3 games.
2 games.
We've got a few players on 4 yellows, I think. So got to be careful.
Cootie and Sarr. Thanks, Ben. That was a thing. Hey, by the way, one quick. You said you wouldn't necessarily have Bissouma in those 3. Who would be your 3 if everyone's healthy?
It would be Sarr, because I think his drive and his running and determination keeps our energy levels up, generally speaking. And I think, because I was thinking about this the other day, who remains consistent in their output or their playing? I think Bissouma drops off too much. There's games he's dropped out of, and he has those brain farts where he either, you know, does these things. Then I think Giovanni Lo Celso is injured too much, and also at times in the past has dropped out too much. So that sort of leaves, you know, Benton Kerr would be one, and Madison the other one, and Sarr. So that's my trio: Sarr, Madison, and Benton Kerr.
Agree with that.
Yeah, because they
Yeah,
remain pretty steady on their level of performances.
when
think.
Bentancur is fit is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
issue.
sure.
Keep him fit, and keep him fit,
But he is such a good player. He is such a good player that I think you kind of need to make sure he's in the team. And I think there's going to be times where we want to play someone like Bissouma, who's a little bit more combative. But
Agree.
Bentancur is the kind of player you just can't drop out. I think
there's seems to have gone backwards to me because at times earlier in the season he'd be receiving the ball, turning and breaking the line, and he just seems to have stopped doing that. And he seems to be a reactive player now, as opposed to a proactive player that he seemed to be earlier in the season. So my second point of that point is that I don't think he's as big a loss as he might have been.
Yeah.
If he'd be a loss if he was playing like he was sort of 8 matches ago, but I don't regard him as being a big loss now. And I thought Skip came in and did a very good job yesterday afternoon. And I thought that Højbjerg actually did a good job yesterday as well when they came on.
I think they did, and I think the game yesterday was very much one that suited their style of play, a bit, more physical in a way. I do think, because I've kind of been looking over the teams from the past few years, and we have a lot of, at least in the past 2 years, not going into this season, we've played a lot of matches without players that are press resistant, that can receive the ball in tight spaces, choose the right option. And I've always said you need 3 players who can do that in a team at minimum. So whenever we've had Kane and Bentancur and Kulusevski, usually we'd be okay.
Yeah.
Now these days we have, I think, Kulusevski can receive the ball in tight spaces, is relatively press resistant. Maddison, Bissouma, generally speaking, is good at that, sort of receiving the ball. You have Udogie is all right at it. Romero is all right at it. Porro is decent as well. You don't have those players that we used to have with, by all means, Højbjerg did all right last night, but he's not a player you want to receive the ball with 3 players around him. He's either going to lose it or pass it backwards. So I think when we used to play Skip, Højbjerg, and Royale, and who did we have at left back? Perisic or Sessegnon or whatever. A lot of those players who looked uncomfortable with the ball, receiving the ball. They're almost scared to receive the ball. We don't have too many of those players, but as soon as we start to take those kind of press-resistant players out of our team, I think we struggle. And I think we did all right yesterday because of the physicality of it, but I think in some ways, if we're going to field Skip and Højbjerg, for instance, going forward for the next 3 games, I think we're going to struggle.
Yeah. Next 3 games are Everton, Brighton, then Bournemouth. How many points do we think we're going to get from that? I'm not too confident, I'll be honest. Everton are on the up. Brighton, one of the best technical sides in the league. We'll get 3 points against Bournemouth, but
I think people were saying, because I didn't watch the Everton game, but first off, Everton would be like 8th or 9th if they did not have the 10-point deduction.
Yeah.
So, and then people were saying they're quite a physical team. I've not seen them play for a bit, so that would be a struggle. But we're at home. I do think we'll manage to get that over the line. Brighton being more technical side, I think that actually suits us better than a physical side. So I think we'll, I'm gonna say 9 points.
Hey. There's the Spurs fan coming out.
That's it. I'm saying the same thing.
I don't know. Everton, I think apparently they're on their way to a 2nd points deduction. So that's going to make things very tough. If they get another 10 points taken off, it's going to be hard.
They're still going to be like above the relegation, aren't they?
They're very, very lucky that there are some fairly poor sides in this league this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll be in relegation, but yeah, it'll be pretty close. Yeah. Austin, Ash, points next 3 games?
I'm going 9 points again.
Yeah.
You're going 9 points again?
Yeah.
Ash, what do you reckon?
Everton will be the toughest team because I think Sean Dyche has got them organised very, very well. I think he's a much underrated manager. Brighton, I think, will suit our style of play, and Bournemouth will also suit our style of play.
Bournemouth certainly, I think, yeah, they'll suit our style of play. I think we've got a very good chance of doing well against them. Even though they have improved, they've definitely got better as the season's gone on. Brighton scare me. Everton scare me for a completely different reason. They're back to the wall fighters. It's going to be a tough old game, and we've got suspensions in that one, so it's going to be hard. I would be happy with 7. I'll be honest.
I was just looking at the table now, and it's kind of interesting seeing that Everton has only let in 20 goals, and that's actually, up there with Aston Villa and Manchester City, the third best in the league, fourth best in the league, only letting in 20 goals. So there's that too.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously we've got January coming up, which gives us a chance to bring some players in, move some players out. So I've got 2 things for us I'd like to quickly discuss here. Are we going to be kept waiting before we bring our players in, or are we going to be proactive in the market? I've got a feeling we're going to see a defender come in very, very early.
And you alluded to the fact that he's got a Santa's wish list yesterday. I think we're talking to people already. I'd be very surprised if we didn't have 2 people in the first 2 weeks of the new year. Probably a central defender, or no, almost certainly a central defender, and probably a midfielder as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's, as I was looking at it was pure speculation, but I was looking at a site that listed the I think it was called like probable return dates of players, and it had like Maddison maybe returning like mid-January, and Mickey returning mid-January, and Benson Kerr returning late January. Obviously, poor speculation, but I couldn't help but think that would really help us if it's not like we're not looking at mid-February or March at best or whatever. And I think it sort of depends on how far they are in their sort of rehabilitation as well, especially in relation to like Maddison. But ideally we get a center back and a midfielder, possibly an attacker even. I don't know, like left or right wing or something. I don't know what we could do there. Like,
yeah, striker situation is going to be interesting. Obviously, Richarlison is starting to show a bit of form. 3 goals in 2 games. First time he scored 2 goals. Well, first time he scored in back-to-back games since joining us. His last back-to-back goal-scoring efforts were his last 2 games for Everton. So be nice if he carried that on, but is he going to be able to do that without the service from Sonny? Because he's been very important to us. And do we play Hill out wide left, or do we try and chop and change it a little bit? I don't know. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. Not my problem. That's what Ange is there for.
You're not on speed dial with him.
No, he doesn't take my calls. So
I see the central.
I'm very impressed with Brennan Johnson. Sorry, Ash.
Yeah, I see the central defender, like you saying, Oz, priority. But then thinking about a forward player, and I was just wondering if it could be somebody who's a little bit more versatile and flexible, kind of like Kulusevski. Do we really need a striker per se, or since Hill might not provide it, since we don't have Perisic, since we don't have Sessegnon, could there be a more of an advanced, and Lo Celso gets injured all the time, could there be somebody else we might be interested in who could be a bit more flexible to be an advanced midfielder, or a guy who plays across the front line, which might be really helpful?
Well, we've been linked to Matthias Soulé, who plays in Italy. He's on loan. I can't remember where he's on loan, but he's Cagliari, I think, maybe. But he's a Juventus player, and they need to raise money. They want to make some signings. They need to raise money.
What's his position?
They're going to be looking. Well, he's right winger, so they're asking 20 million for him, I believe. But But yeah, we've had a few players we've been linked to, but we always are. We're always linked to 20, 30 players every single window, and we pick up maybe 2 or 3.
I was still
So-
linked to that Brazilian striker. And we were linked to, what was his name? Like 15 years ago.
Damião.
Damião,
Yeah. Yes, the
No,
yellow. The yellow.
yeah,
and was it
blue
blue
and
and
yellow.
yellow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, you know,
listeners will have no idea what we're talking about there.
No, I really like Kulusevski, and he's absolutely one of my favorite players. And there's been a lot of talk about him not being a fast winger type and so on. I do think he's stepped up his numbers again, because when he just joined the first, 10, 15 games he played for us that season under Conte, he was magnificent. His numbers were better than Kevin De Bruyne. He was absolutely had an amazing output in those games, goals and assists. I think he stepped that up in the last 3-4 games. I think he needed to do that as well. But I can kind of see when you look at. I was looking at the stats one day. I mean, I'm not like I usually don't deep dive into stats because they can kind of at times show you things
You leave
want
that to Andreas.
Yeah, but when you look at like Arsenal and Saka and Doku for Manchester City, their sort of dribbling and all those kind of things, they were really in the top percentage of player performances, where our players, Brennan Johnson and Kulusevski, were quite a bit down in successful dribbling and all those kind of things. And I think that is a problem. But I think now Kulusevski is stepping up a bit, and I think Johnson hopefully can find it a bit. And I think even Ange has pointed out, Kulusevski had a problem with his output, finishing, assists, and so on. We've worked on getting him to shoot more and so on. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure when it comes to attacking output, we've probably got the right coach at the moment to rectify those problems.
Oz, you were going to say something about Johnson. What were you going to say?
I just think Johnson is potentially outstanding. I think he's been unlucky. He hit the inside of the post last week against Newcastle, and the ball came out. He had a spontaneous shot yesterday that the keeper did well to save from a Decky cross.
Yep.
He scored on his debut as well. It was ruled out of offside.
Yeah, and he's got such pace and such instant control. I think we're sitting waiting for someone to, when the dam bursts, it goes. And I think Johnson is going to do that. Yeah. I just have this absolute faith in the guy. He looks to me like a real proper star footballer. But it hasn't happened for him yet, but I think it will.
Yeah.
Andrew's talked about him. He's talked about bringing him into training. He said he's done very well. He's come in. He's straight away he's come in. He's playing the way that they want him to play. But there's still more that they can do to do little tactical things to get him into the spaces they want him in, and that will probably lead to more chances being created and more goals being created. And the guy came in after the season had started. He didn't have pre-season with us. He's done very well to put up the numbers he has and put in the performance he has. It was sad to see him go off yesterday with a head injury. Apparently there's no concussion. It's literally just a cut on his head.
Just got a scratch.
Tis but a scratch indeed. I think we're going to see a lot more from him, but I think we may have to wait till next season to really see the best.
Yeah, I do long term have a problem with Richarlison being our striker. I got to say that. I think he's technically too erratic and inconsistent. I think he will score goals. I think in our team, yes, he will get 10, 12 goals a season. But is that enough? I don't think so.
It might be if our other guys, for sure, if he's healthy, Maddison's going to get 10.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He had scored like 5 goals or something like that until he got injured last season.
Yeah.
So, good point, Ben. But I think there are other goals in the team. Kulusevski scoring more.
I agree. I do agree. I just kind of hope we do find a striker that is more consistent in a way, because I hope Richarlison does well. There's nothing against him as such, but I think he's missed a few sitters by now. We saw that against Luton, 2 or 3 big chances in the first few minutes. Against also West Ham as well, he had a header to go just wide. I think there's a player in there score goals, but not enough goals.
I think you have to take into consideration that until he had his operation a few weeks
Yep.
ago,
Yep.
he'd
Yeah.
been injured almost
Yeah.
permanently since he joined us.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah,
Since he's got back from injury, he actually looks a different player. That header he
does.
scored was a really nice header with a good
Yeah.
flick. He got good contact. His running, I thought he looked a different player. So I'm not ruling. I agree with what you say about what he's done so far for us, but I think we've probably got more to come. I'm optimistic, being Oz the optimist, of course. That we'll get more out of him.
Good
I
point,
think we
Al.
will too. I think we will. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's a whether it's enough thing. that's a thing, especially paying 60 million for him.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, we spent
Well,
60, 40, 50 million for Lo Celso and the guy's injured
Yeah,
again.
I agree. That's also too much.
That's definitely too much. I know Barcelona would like to bring him in, apparently. Xavi's a fan.
Should we sell him?
Should we sell him? I keep thinking there's a player in there, and we see these glimpses. We see some really nice stuff from him, and I have to I quite enjoy the dark elements that he brings, the dark side of the game,
Yeah,
which we definitely saw
100%,
from
Stuart.
Lamela. We've seen it from Romero. And he's got that little bit of edge to him, which I think helps us out a bit.
There's a but there.
And we've got Valise to come.
And
Yeah,
Valise to
but-
come. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Valise and Donnelly, that's the other thing. We're looking at bringing new players in. Are we never going to let these guys have a chance? What? You know?
No, we brought Valise on yesterday. He did absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah, for a minute.
One touch.
One time.
As for the GLC or Lo Celso, I would definitely hold on to him until the summer. I
Me
would not
too.
sell him in January. If Barcelona still has interest in the summer, wait and see what else have we got. What can we do in the transfer window? Can we bring in someone and replace him? Maybe it's worth selling him to Barcelona then if they still have interest.
I think it
But
comes down to fitness. I think it comes down to other players potentially moving on because Højbjerg could be going. If everybody else comes back fit by early to mid January, then I think they might look at it and go, okay, well, we can afford to let one or two players go. Bentancur's, I think Bentancur's going to be a starter.
Yes, I'm worried about his injuries. I know it's unlucky, but he's got the cruciate ligament thing and the ankle ligament thing now.
Different legs though, which is
Sure.
better.
Yeah. It's
And
just
when
not.
someone comes into you like they fucking well did, excuse me, Stuart, sorry,
No.
like Matty Cash did, nowhere near the ball. Didn't
Okay,
get
hang on.
sent
Before we
off.
go any further, can we all just very, very quickly say what we're all thinking, and I will bleep all of this. But fuck Matty Cash.
Oh man, I hope Romero
Fuck Matty Cash.
go
Come,
and
everybody, come on.
cuts him
1, 2,
into it.
3. Fuck
Fuck
Matty
Matty
Cash.
Cash.
There we go.
I'd break his fucking legs if I was Matty Cash.
Yeah.
I tell you.
I think Cutie may get there before you because the way he was giving him a look, Cutie will definitely that'll be another suspension. But hey.
my first reaction after the game was put Eric Dyer on with 5 minutes left of a Villa game or whatever, and just be like, okay, here we go,
Break him.
red card. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got one job, break him.
We will pay your fine.
Didn't he actually do that to, I forget, another one of our players
Højbjerg.
a couple of years ago?
Doherty
no,
as well.
He's done it to Doherty, he's done it to Højbjerg,
Doherty, yeah.
and he's also done it to 3 players in 3 games. So
All right.
fuck Matty Cash.
Eric Dyer's the man.
We've got it out of the
I
system.
will take the bleeping I have to do on that one just to get that out of my system. I
1
tell
minute
you.
of just
Yeah. We've done brilliantly tonight. It's fine. It's fine. My kids listen to this in the car, so they'll be like, what were you saying there, Daddy? Nothing. Okay. Next step for the January transfer window. One question for all of you. You get to buy one player, I want a name, and you get to sell one player, but it has to be someone who has more than 6 months on their contract. I'm not having people selling Eric Dyer every single one. So, okay. Buy one player, sell one player. Who's it going to be? Starting with who Benjamin, you look most prepared for this.
So I would Geez, I was not as prepared as I thought it would be. No, I would sell. So if it's difficult because of the injuries, but I would probably sell Højbjerg if we could get in the midfield in. But then, man, there was this. It's tough. It's tough with injuries. There was this defender from Germany, and I forgot his name. Somewhere over from like Serbia or Bosnia, somewhere around there. He's playing in the Bundesliga. He was linked to us as well, and I forget his name now. What a big guy, 2 meters tall, and I sort of like the look of him. Forget his name now. I think he played right centre back. That would probably be the guy I would sign. As for
if you can
sell,
remember his name.
yeah, and I just can't remember his name now. There was also the other centre back guy who was linked to from Germany. What was his name? Was it? Well, the names escape me, but
There's been a few. There's Tapsoba.
Tapsoba, yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Who
That was not
signed
the
a new
first one.
contract.
Yeah.
There's the Mashida, is it?
But I would, point being, I would probably sign a centre back, and then I would let Højbjerg go simply for the reason that I don't think long term he is something we should build upon. I think he's too slow. I think he slows the tempo down. And I've kind of made the point that Sarr brings the tempo up. He keeps us, he sort of, the other players around him get, his the drive to go forwards. Whereas Højbjerg is like, the thing I see from Højbjerg all the time is like, slow down, just pass, no, that's not the Ange way. The Ange way is we're 2-1 up. Even if we're 2-1 up with 5 minutes to go, we're going to go for the third goal. Like, don't calm down.
No, the Andre is go for it. Don't sit back and wait for it to happen. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. So,
okay, Austin, what do you think?
In terms of centre backs, there's a guy playing for Bournemouth who's English, whose name I can't remember.
Lloyd Kelly.
Sorry?
Lloyd Kelly.
Lloyd Kelly.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd like more English players coming into the club because we are sadly short of top English players. So I like him. I think an Everton defender has been associated with us as well, and I don't know who that is.
Ben Gibson.
Okay.
I've got them all. They're all there. I tell you.
Are you Andreas in disguise? That's the question.
We've also been linked to Tosin Adarabayo from Fulham, who's also English. Yeah.
So I'd like an English centre back, basically, or certainly a homegrown centre back. In terms of who I'd want to get rid of, I actually don't want to get rid of anyone in the current squad.
No, you have to. This is the rules of the game. You have to get rid of someone.
Oh, you meanie.
I know.
Hugo Lloris, then.
Oh, no, 6 months on his than 6 months on his contract. You're breaking it. He's got to have more than 6 months on his contract.
Oh, fuck off. I mean, no, good gracious me. See, I don't want to get rid of Dyer because I think Dyer gives absolute commitment and he's very good within the club. I don't want to get rid of Oliver Skipp, who's been suggested by other people, because I still think we're yet to see the best of Oliver Skipp. I'm absolutely stuck because we've got a paucity of players that are fit.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely stuck in terms of who I would even think of getting rid of, to be quite honest.
Okay, so we'll move on to Ash, and then we will try and come back to you, see if you can think of a player to cut from the squad. But, Ash, what do you think?
Now.
All right, because I think that an attacking player, maybe somebody I don't even know for sure. You might know him, Stu. If we could find an attacking player, I would. Somebody can play across the front line. I would say goodbye to Mr. Heel because I just don't think that he's going to make enough of an impression. So Mr. Heel would fit that, and then I don't know that you've mentioned the centre backs. I actually wonder if Ange has a secret stash of names that he is scouting, that he knows about, and whether or not he will pull out one of those from his rabbit hat, centre back or something like that. That we just don't. I mean, I really didn't know about Kulusevski and Betancourt. before they came, and look at them, it's like, wow, So maybe Paratici and Ange have some guys that they're gonna just pull out rabbit's hat and go, wow. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the big surprise if we bring in someone like Kiko Meshida from Royal Union Saint-Gilloise. If we brought him in, he's apparently going to be reasonably cheap, something like 4 million. But yeah, he would be a risk. Although he's done apparently very well in Japan and done very well since he moved over to Europe. So maybe him. Personally, I'd go for Radu Dragusin, who's playing for Genoa. I think he's been really solid at the back for them. They're playing really well. He's pacey, quick, can play on both sides of the defense, whether he can play left-sided defender, right-sided defender. And I think that would give us the cover that we need, certainly combined with Ben Davis. I think Ben Davis has really emerged as a really good quality defender who we can rely on. I don't think we need to buy a second defender in January, which I kind of felt we needed to before. In terms of getting rid of a player, I've said it before, I will absolutely say it again. Goodbye, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
That's 2 on Højbjerg.
That's 2 on Højbjerg, yeah.
I do think there's an interesting point about Brian Hill, because I think
that's a good one.
I think he is very much an Ange style player in that he's dribbling, he can receive the ball. I don't think his quality is not good enough. But I think Ange wishes Hill was good enough, because that sort of dribbling, the sort of, there's just not enough end product. There's not like, yeah, I kind of like him, but I don't think the quality is there.
Kulusevski is 6'3" apparently, and the guy he really is a beast.
He's a beast.
If we could get a left-sided guy who was a beast, that would be great.
That was one thing I was thinking of earlier with Ben Davis. He's like, is he 5'11" or something? I think he is.
Oh, I think he might be 6
foot, I think.
Well, and then you have Romero, who's also around like 5'11"-ish, 6 foot, whatever.
He's 6'4".
No, not Romero.
Christian Romero is 6'4".
I thought he was 6'2", but
hang on, I'm googling him.
I'm going to look it up.
6'2". It says. I'm sure I saw it was. He looks shorter. Anyway, the point is, a lot of teams have these really tall
it's
center backs.
symmetric.
I think it's 6'1", 6'2", 6'1" it says here, and the one I have here, but
6'1", yeah.
It's the Kasper Schmeichel. He was very adamant as well that he was like 6'4" when he was like 5'11". No, but it's like, but the thing is, it's interesting that we have 2 relatively short center backs in Romero and Davies now.
Yeah,
but we do relatively well anyway. A lot of teams have these 6 foot, 6'4", 6'5" defenders. Yeah.
Yeah. Withdraw my comment.
Yeah, he's 6'1", so he's a bit short.
Yeah.
At 6'5", I can say that. So, yeah.
You're 6 foot too?
Yeah, I'm a big boy.
Wow, you're a rugby player.
When I lived in Wales, absolutely. Basketballer when I lived everywhere else. Yeah. Okay. My last question for this evening, the last thing I've got timetabled for, but I will open it up to everybody.
Can I just give you an answer to a question you answered?
Go on then. Yes.
Either Ivan Perisic or Manor Solomon. Sell.
Oh, Manor Solomon, really? Manor, going by the who scored ratings, I was going to ask this question earlier, see who could get it right, but going by the who scored ratings, Manor Solomon is our 6th best player this season.
He did assist. Who was it he assisted in one game? Was it Son? Yeah, it was Son.
Yeah.
I forget I think he has another few assists, doesn't he? At least 2, I think. Only 1 assist, I can't remember.
He was doing pretty well until he got injured. And then, unfortunately, he's been out since then. And we don't really he's back training apparently, but we don't really seem to have any idea of when he's going to be back for selection. Sessegnon is back training with the ball as well as gym work. Van der Ven is back out on the pitch, which would be lovely to have him back quickly, I'll be honest. Maddison, I think, has not started field work yet.
There was some picture of him in the like a gym picture today. He posted. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I think he's back in the gym, but I don't think he's been out on the field.
I do think for a very long time there were pictures going about with him with the protective boot
Yeah.
on, and I think I couldn't help but think, is this a bad sign or is it a good sign? Are we protecting him, just making sure nothing happens? You're not going to twist your ankle while walking down the stairs or whatever. Like, I couldn't tell.
I think if he's wearing a boot now, it's a problem because he shouldn't be wearing a boot at this point in his recovery.
Yeah.
But hopefully he's not. Okay, my last question for this evening, but then I will throw it open to everybody else. Gary Neville tipping Ange Postecoglou for the Manchester City job. Could it happen? And why do the media always seem to regularly link our best people with jobs elsewhere? We've seen it before. We've seen Harry Kane, Sol Campbell before him, Ledley King before him, Pochettino. You know, Son Heung-min even has been linked elsewhere by the press, even though I don't think he's got any intention of going anywhere. What is it about our best players that the media always want to get rid of?
Stu?
What's that?
Are you near the bleep button? Because Gary
can
Neville
be.
can fuck right off. No way is Ange Postecoglou going to leave this project until he's got out of it what he thinks he can do.
I agree with that. I think there's, you know, when our players or managers are linked away, it's a positive sign in a way, you know, because they're doing well. They're being linked to bigger jobs. Because admittedly, you know, as much as we like it, Tottenham probably is not the biggest job in the world at the moment. You know, I personally think it is, but that's my opinion, and that's. But it's you know, they're doing well. We did not see Conte linked away too much because he was doing a crap job. We did not see Mourinho linked away too much because he was doing a pretty crappy job. We saw, maybe we did at times, I don't know, but you know, Pochettino was linked a few times to Real Madrid and Manchester United, and when Redknapp was doing well, he was linked to the England job. You know, Ange is going to do well. He's going to be linked to the City job. If Ange is doing terribly and we're sitting like in 16th position in the Premier League, he's not going to be linked away. So it's a sign we're doing well. And if we can do well enough to be, you know, in the top of the league,
yep,
then maybe there's no place to go.
Ben, can I say something to you?
Yeah.
You're too young because, and Ash will probably back me up with this. When I was young, and Ash is younger than me, but not much, Spurs were one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Wow.
And we were the first British team to win a European qualification. We were the first team in the modern era to win the double. We were the first British team to win 3 European trophies. And given what Daniel Levy has done, and I've got so much respect for Daniel Levy. He's got the best training complex, or one of the best training complexes in the world. He's got one of the best stadiums in the world.
The best stadium in the world.
There is no reason why, if we start to win trophies, we can't be one of the top 5 clubs in the world.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, though. If we become that top club, then there's no place to go for the best. You know, if Ange, there's no place to be linked away if we're the top club, because he's being linked away because there's the Madrid job, there's the Barcelona, there's this and that still above us. I think we're still one of the top 10 richest clubs or whatever it is. And I think, you know, in some way, by the way, I do know the history of Spurs, of course.
I know. Sorry, Ben.
No, I know. It's nothing, because I had this sort of.
You got to remember, Austin was there for all of it. So you know.
I wish I was there for all of it. I've always said that.
Woodrow.
I also want to say, though, and I've made this point before, and it feels like a horrible point to make. But when do we're a big club because of history become just history? Because it's been, you know, the FA Cup, we won that in '91. It's by all means 32 years ago. Can we still live on that sort of, oh, we were big in the 60s, we won the cup in 84, the European. all those kind of things. How long can we live on that? Because I don't think when Emerson Royale or whoever Christian Romero is joining us, I don't think they're, oh, damn, Spurs were big in the 60s. I don't think they're thinking about that. I don't think that the newer fans are thinking, oh, Spurs were big in the 60s. I don't know when history becomes just history, with absolute respect to the history, but at some point it's like, oh, it's actually 60 years ago now. And I hate that because I'm a very nostalgic guy. I'll look back at the 90s and be like, what happened to the dial-up phones? And, you know.
But Ben, it's not so much about that. It's about, if you look at all the Premiership clubs now, all the clubs in Europe, and you look at the facilities they've got, and you look at the stadia they've got, and you look at the internal setups they've got, we have got a fantastic setup. So
Agree.
I'm not just relying on history. What I'm saying is, because of the infrastructure that we now have, then there is no reason why we should not return to that Premier European club status.
I completely agree, and I do think because I'm a big fan of Daniel Levy. Sorry, Ash, I'm a big fan of Daniel Levy, but I do think he needs to just take the last step up and push for it. That was my comment. Sorry.
Ash, what do you think?
Yeah, since we went off a little bit, you were talking about. I actually kind of forget what we were talking about, but it had to do with other teams coming after our guys. Given what Austin
not so much that, but why do the media keep linking our top people to other teams?
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I meant. Yeah. I wanted, just following up on what Austin just said, if there is an insidious aspect to, is that a lot of the pundits on the bigger channels and networks are ex-Man U, Liverpool, whatever. Is it an insidious thing about wanting, or secretly wanting to destabilize Spurs? Because there is a jealousy that we actually are a monster in the making, like an absolute monster in the making. Like a Man U, they're not there anymore. You know what I mean? They were, and my dad's team, I had to deal with that for so many, year after year after year. Him lording it over me with Man U beating Tottenham and being ahead of us. So I wonder if there's an element of just destabilizing or being jealous about that this team really could be something. Plus, I've always wondered about this, the style, it's in our DNA, the style of football that we attempt to play is actually beautiful football. It really is. And maybe there's a jealousy about that aspect too. That they just, no, that's too good. That team is like, because we put those white, I'm telling you, we put those white jerseys and shorts and socks on and we look fabulous. You know, we look fabulous, but blazing white jerseys and kits. So anyway, I think there's a degree of jealousy when people trying to unsettle us, you know.
I just noticed Stuart is the only one in white today.
Yeah, but it's sorry, there we go. It's a Cookie Monster.
but
in terms of stability, it's not been that hard to destabilize us in the future. It wasn't that long ago. It just took linking Harry Redknapp to the England job to see our form drop off a cliff. One Gary Neville interview with Harry Kane to make things difficult for us. You know, it's been fairly easy. But now we've got more good players. So linking one player away can't make that much of a difference. But
there is a destabilizing thing. You're suggesting there might be a destabilizing thing aspect there.
I obviously don't watch a whole lot of like English pundits because I'm in Denmark and all that. I do watch some of it, clips and this and that. But I kind of wondered, as you were saying that, how someone like Jermaine Genius has been a pundit at times. What is his take on it? I think has Jermaine Defoe been in there at times? I can't remember who's been in the what Genius, what their takes on it are when they're doing the punditry, and if they're more positive about Spurs or they're not as destabilizing in what they're doing.
Genius has flip-flopped a bit. When we had that game against Chelsea, he was very, critical of the way that we played, and it was, oh, you can't play like that. It's so naive, and Yeah, and then recently he's just come out. He had an interview last week where he was like, "Oh, I love the way that Spurs play under Ange, and they're going to win a trophy, and they're going to go far." And
Uh,
okay, but you weren't saying that a little while ago. Let's
yeah.
choose a train and get on, buddy.
I think even Gary Neville was very positive about Ange, hasn't he been? Like at times.
Yeah, so much
Yeah.
so he's linking him to Manchester City now.
Yeah, okay, that's that. Yeah, sure. But I mean, in some aspect, it's a positivity, but it's with sort of that,
Yeah.
He's going to go to a bigger job. There's one worry that kind of occurred to me here, because we've got this brand new stadium, we've got the training facility, we've got an attacking coach. Hopefully it works out with Ange. But what happens if we sit on this monster in the making for 10 more years, 15 more years? Are Newcastle going to build a new stadium? Is Old Trafford going to be rebuilt? Are there going to be other clubs that are going to, bridge that gap a bit? So I do think we do need to take this chance while we have it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
because that bridge is going to be gapped at some point. Brighton is going to do something. Aston Villa, maybe, at some point, it's going to be, yeah.
I think Brighton are doing.
Yeah.
I think Brighton are doing what Brighton are going to do. But I think they are limited in terms of their size, the capacity of what they can do. But they've obviously got a great scouting and recruitment team, and they're always going to punch above their weight just through that alone.
They sort of remind me of our team from like 2004-ish to 2010. Like we did not have the new stadium. We had like Martin Jol. We had, those kind of coaches that just sort of, they're not world-class coaches. They're still pushing above their weight. Maybe, we had good players. We had Luka Modric come in. We had Dimitar Berbatov and so on and so on. But we also have had players like, Chim Bunda, Lee on left back, Stalteri, you name him. And I think I sort of see Brighton as that. And at some point, what happens over the next 5-10 years? Are they going to push beyond in the same way we did? And if we stay stagnant, then we're going to struggle. We can't stay stagnant where we are now. We do need to take that step up.
Yeah, absolutely got to push on. I think my last word on Ange, I think he would be absolutely nuts to go to Manchester City after Pep Guardiola. I mean, any manager that takes the job directly after Pep Guardiola would be absolutely crazy, just so full of themselves that they think that they can manage it.
Let Arteta go there. Let Arteta go there.
Well, quite possibly. But you look at the big name managers that have left over the last few years. Right? So Alex Ferguson left. What happened to Manchester United?
Yeah.
They dipped massively because you can't replace that personality. Arsene Wenger left Arsenal. What happened to Arsenal? They dipped fairly significantly because that knowledge, that ability, that he ran everything in that club. To lose him was so important to them. When Klopp leaves Liverpool, we're going to see the same kind of thing. It's going to be very difficult for them to pick up that baton and keep running. And when Guardiola leaves Manchester City, it's going to be very, very difficult to replace him. And I don't think Ange is stupid enough to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to jump straight in there and be the person that can do it." He's a confident guy, but I think he also recognizes the pitfalls of taking something like that.
I think he'd probably rather go to some other country after us, whether that's Germany or Spain or France or whatever, simply because going to his city is going to be, I doubt it's going to work for him, much as he's a confident guy and much as he believes in his ways. I do think there's an interesting aspect that I've often thought about. I can't remember how long Klopp has been at City now. Is that 7 or 8 years? At Liverpool. Sorry, Klopp is at Liverpool, and Guardiola has been like, what, 6 years at City? I don't know.
Guardiola, I think it's about 6 years he's been at there.
Yeah.
So
those kind of eras where you have managers that stay, like Ferguson from 86 until 11 or 2012 or whatever, and you have Arsenal at Arsenal, staying there from 96 and staying there for like, what was it, 20 years or whatever.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah. Is that still a thing for managers? Because we're subbing out managers like all teams are changing managers like, every every other year, every year, basically. I don't think that.
Ange, please don't leave.
yeah. No, I wish, and I've kind of made a silly point before that I think a lot of managers, a lot of good managers, let's put it that way, a lot of good managers, good to great managers, would succeed in doing great things if they had 15 years, 20 years in the seat.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So, any other business? Has anybody else got anything they'd like to talk about?
Well, Merry Christmas to you all, and I do quite like these chats, and we've got some other ones planned, some guest appearances coming up, perhaps.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying this one.
Yeah,
I must have, when I joined, I was not aware that it was like an official podcast, but it's it's totally fine.
Oh yeah, this is totally official. Very.
Feel
It was
free
a
to
bit
share
off
it
the
on
bat.
TikTok.
Like the funny thing, I did actually recently record a few videos about Spurs on TikTok. So there's that. Not a whole lot of people watch them. But
We will discuss this off air, but the next match is on the 23rd. I've got a feeling we may be doing a video the same night because nobody wants to be doing a video on Christmas Eve.
You're not available. You're not available the next day.
Well, 9 o'clock I will be. Yeah.
Stu, what time is the game on the 23rd?
It's kickoff at 3 o'clock. So standard Saturday, 3
Oh,
o'clock
good.
kickoff.
All right.
Don't get many
Yeah.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Okay.
My dad's staying with me for 4 days from that day, so the likelihood of me being able to attend is very little, I'm afraid.
Just bring your dad.
with you.
Yeah, bring your dad on. I was saying that's well.
He's 97 and he's a Newcastle supporter. No.
Don't bring your dad on. Don't.
It's the second part that's more important there. All right. Okay. Well, thank you very, very much, everybody. Benjamin, thank you for coming. It's been great to have you here. Ash, Austin, as always, gents, even with the coarse language from one of you in particular. And
terribly sorry, old boy. I don't know.
Absolutely, dear sir.
Can I just Austin, what was your thoughts again on Matty Cash?
You can do it.
It's a 4-letter word pertaining to the female form that isn't aunt.
My last thing, thoughts out to Tom Lockyer. Hope he's doing better. Obviously, Christian Eriksen type situation on the pitch with him today. Had a cardiac arrest. Apparently he was awake and talking to people in the tunnel, so it's sounding good. I hope things continue. It's always really scary when you hear that kind of thing. So yeah, best of wishes to him. And as always, come on, you Spurs.